Near that pig farm, investigators have been combing through.
The family not giving up hope.
We believe that Molly is still alive, and if someone has abducted her, we are pleading with you to please release her.
Hundreds of protesters take to the streets of Chicago. Demonstrators sending a loud and clear message to Democratic Mayor Rahm Emanuel.
He got some good things, but I think he don't step up and come to the people where the crime is.
We are just hours away from the July jobs report.
This is a very robust job market for people with some experience. There's opportunities to switch jobs and get raises. This is good news.
And we are going to keep on winning. We are going to win so much, perhaps some of you, but not all, will get tired of winning. Anybody gonna get tired of winning?
And speaking of winning, you're watching the #1 cable news morning show for, I forget the number, a couple hundred months, something like that.
Long time, like 125, is that right?
It's gigantic. Like you're listening to music from for King and Country. They are our featured performers today. It is a Friday in the summer. Let's all enjoy the show. All part of our All-American Summer Concert
They're
series.
such a great group. They have this song called Shoulders. You should download it right now. If you're going through a hard time, play that song and it'll make you feel great and inspire you. I think they're a Christian band, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. But what if you're not going through a hard time? They've got
Listen
some
to it
really cheery
anyway.
music
Everyone
too.
goes through something at some point. So it'll just, even if you're not in a good mood, it'll make you, it's just a really good song.
And if you're not going through a hard time, maybe something bad will happen and it'll give you a reason to listen, right?
Okay,
Think on the sunny side.
Summer. Let's try to make things sunny.
Oh,
let's try to make this a good day.
Listen to it to prepare you for the bad things that are going to happen to you today.
And don't click down on yourself if nothing bad happened. That's my message to the people.
It's Friday.
It is. So thank you very much for joining us. Coming up in 2 hours and 30 minutes, the jobs number is going to come out, and they are expecting a good one. But there's a number that has not been getting a lot of attention. Keep in mind, this White House generally gets, 91, 92% negative coverage from the mainstream media. And when you look at this new poll from Rasmussen, you wonder, how is his number that high given so much bad publicity?
Now, Rasmussen tends to be a friendly poll, and it is tracking you, and they are phone calls, but
Daily
it shows
tracker.
a trend. Yeah, it shows a trend. It shows a trend because when the Wall Street Journal NBC poll says 45%, when other major polls also show going up, you wonder if most of the press is negative, and all these stories, if these other channels, 80 to 90% are negative stories, and then people talking about negative stories. You wonder if the media is being bypassed because the president's got the social media leapfrog to go right to them, and other people will see the results in their paychecks, their home, their house.
That's what the president said yesterday when he was in Pennsylvania. He was there stumping for Representative Lou Barretta, who wants to be a senator there. But if you look at these numbers, it's pretty incredible because they compared August 2nd, 2018, which is obviously President Trump, to August 2nd, 2010, to President Obama. President Trump's approval rating 50%, Obama at the same time in his presidency 45%.
Right, exactly. And President Obama, I don't know if you noticed, got much more sympathetic news coverage.
A lot more.
The president, the news media are very critical on him. And so, and the way
he's critical on them.
And the way he was pointing out the fake news in the back of the room last night in Pennsylvania, that says something. But nonetheless, you mentioned Lou Barretta. He is running for the Senate seat currently held by Casey in Pennsylvania. And I tell you what, if you're going to have somebody come up and speak on your behalf and sing your praises, you want Lou Barretta. Listen to this ad he did for what President Trump has accomplished so far.
The economy is soaring under President Trump's economy. It is soaring. The market is up over 20%. Unemployment's at 4%. Black unemployment's at an all-time low. Hispanic unemployment's at an all-time low. Women's unemployment's at an all-time low. Small business confidence is at an all-time high. Consumer confidence is at an all-time high. There are more jobs now than people who are unemployed. ISIS is practically gone. North Korea is at the table. The wall's being built. Why would we ever stop that? We're not tired of winning, Mr. President. We're not tired of winning.
And then the president came over and he said, you know what, I can leave. That's the
Right.
thanks,
He's
Lou.
like, I'm not tired of winning because I need a win.
And he asked Lou to run. And he said, listen, I think you can do it. And, I proved to everyone I can win Pennsylvania. But Karl Rove says, listen, these rallies are great for raising money and raising awareness. But ultimately, these candidates have to do it on their own. And they're going to have to sell their story. And I think this is a start. But basically, the president can come in and work. He says, I'm going to work 6 days a week. I'm going to campaign to make sure we keep the House, expand our advantage in the Senate. But ultimately, these candidates got to distinguish themselves. In seeing Lou Barletta yesterday, it seems as though he's got the energy, obviously the aptitude, but he also has got the podium presence to excel. But they have to do it on their own.
Well, the president's been doing a lot of these rallies. There are 3 of them this week alone. And as we get a little bit closer to the midterm elections, he sees it's very important. Republicans are worried about the House, worried about keeping seats in the Senate.
Sure. And we have seen that when the president of the United States endorses you, your numbers go up. In the primary, let's see what they do in the general. We've got Stu Varney going to be dropping by at 8:30 this morning to talk all about the jobs numbers. He will do instant analysis right here on Fox and Friends.
Right. So the president's been talking a lot about immigration. I don't know if you've heard. That's not only is he not running from that, even though the controversy, as Ivanka Trump said yesterday, the low point of the administration was the separation of the families. The president does think that the American people care about what's happening at the border. He does hope to get $5 billion more to bolster the border. He says he's going to get it from the House. Hopefully he'll get it from the Senate. But one thing that he did say is if he wants something done, say he doesn't want it done, to the inverse, because Democrats just oppose everything he does.
You mean reverse psychology?
Right.
Watch this.
We're fighting a war, and we're fighting a war on drugs. They're bringing in drugs. They're bringing in lots of bad people. And we're going to start to get very nasty over the wall. The Democrats, anything I want, they want to oppose. I just figured out how to do the wall. I'll say, I don't want to build a wall, and they'll insist on building it. I just figured that out right now. We're going to be taking some very tough actions. We need more Republicans, but they're friends of mine. They say, sir, we're better off if we wait till after. I say, it's better before. We're either getting it or we're closing down government. We need border security.
And the president was very clear about that, as he has been. That's one of the issues that got him the keys to the 747. But he also in there said we need more like-minded Republicans. And keep in mind, there are a lot of Republicans who don't want the wall in Washington, D.C. They have jobs. But they have hashed out a deal, Mitch and Paul and the president last week, where the president would not force a shutdown before the election. They're going to go ahead and they're going to fund as many programs in the government as they can before the election. Then they're going to pass a little patch that's going to have the Homeland Security money. That's the stuff that's really up for debate right now that would get the Democrats' blood pressure up high, because that is where the $5 billion or $20 billion would come from to build the wall.
And the strategy is this. The president goes, my number's really good on the economy. Republicans could feel good about running about that. And then you got Brett Kavanaugh, who wants to be the next Supreme Court justice, and they want that. And the president says, listen, I don't really want, as much as I want the border security, I don't think we want to distract from the 2 big trophies that I have leading up to November.
Yeah, you mentioned jobs. Unemployment has fallen. 18-year low. 18-year low.
Right.
Record number of job openings. The hourly rate rose at 2.7% yearly rate. It's unbelievable, and that's what people are saying that they care about most.
That's right. I'm surprised Lou Barletta didn't work that into his little advertisement
He
yesterday.
did a little bit.
What's gone on so far. So anyway, we've got a busy Friday. Thank you very much for joining us. We've got lots more coming up regarding the breaking news of the day. We've got the big thing. We've got the barbecue. We've got the singers. And we've got some headlines.
Yeah,
that's right. We were following a number of stories this morning. So let's start off with a Fox News alert right now. A 5-year veteran of the Colorado Springs police force is fighting for his life after being shot in the head. The suspect is due in court this morning. Officer Jem Giselle responding to a call when police say Karar Al-Khamasi opened fire. Al-Khamasi also shot but will be okay. He was already out on bond for a weapons charge. The FBI issuing an Amber Alert for a girl who may have been abducted. Investigators say Jing Ma was taken at Reagan National Airport in D.C. by this woman that you see on your screen in the surveillance photo. The 12-year-old from China was traveling with a group touring American schools. Police say she is in extreme danger.
We believe there is evidence to suggest that while the child was walking with the woman, the child may have put on another piece of clothing. We're attempting to get in touch with the Chinese embassy. Because of the age of the child, this is a very serious incident.
Police think Ma left the airport in this white car you see on your screen now with the woman and an unknown man. A newcomer claims victory in the GOP primary for Tennessee governor. Businessman Bill Lee beating out 3 Republicans to get the nod. One of them, Congresswoman Diane Black, was favored to win. Lee will face Democrat Carl Dean in November. Current Congresswoman Marsha Blackburn easily winning the GOP nod for Senate. She'll face Tennessee's former governor, Democrat Phil Bredesen, who also won by a landslide. Fox News getting an exclusive look at the military gear and personal items returned with U.S. remains from North Korea. Just look, you can see helmets, canteens, buttons, boots, gloves, and socks, all from the Korean War, found in caskets recently handed over to the U.S. Also found that dog tag. It will be given to the fallen soldiers' 2 sons next week in Arlington, Virginia. Let's look at your headlines, and you see those images, and it's just incredible to think that after all these years, we have them now.
But there is sincerity, right? Sincerity that they get. You didn't know what they were going to get, but they say that on the transfer there was sincerity that they tried to preserve the remains the best they could, and there was information exchanged. The next thing is, would you allow our people to scour the countryside? Right. Because we know where these people were last seen, where the battles took place, where the planes crashed, where people were shot. That would be, and if you don't want us to do it, have the UN do it.
They're not going to do that. North Korea is not going to let people.
No one thought we'd see this.
No, I absolutely. And we do not know the identity of the name on the dog tags, but that family has been notified. And as Jillian just said, they're going to be at Arlington very shortly.
Bittersweet. Glad that all those materials are home, but you see them and you know what those men and women went through, or the men went through.
But the ultimate message is we never leave a man behind. Right. The United States has been fighting for those remains, and there are still many more to go.
Right. 12 minutes after the top of the hour, a brand new clue in the search for missing Molly Tibbetts. Investigators now digging through a pig farm as Molly's heartbroken mother is speaking out. We are live with that interview coming up next.
Plus, another Democrat wants to abolish ICE, but this one just got endorsed by President Obama. That story coming up.
You might take some.
This is a Fox News alert, a brand new clue in the search for Molly Tibbetts. A red shirt reportedly found near a hog farm investigators have been combing through over the last couple of days.
And I think that she had to wear red shirts to work, so that's why it's significant. This is the family of the missing Iowa college student not giving up hope. They're pleading at a press conference yesterday for her safe return.
All right, Ted Williams has been on the scene. He met with Molly's mom yesterday, and he joins us right now with the latest. Ted's a former homicide detective, Fox News contributor. Ted, we're moving along with this investigation. What do you think unfolds today?
Well, they're going to have a press conference, and they are very well deep in the investigation. They are looking at various suspects. Yesterday, I got a chance to interview Molly's mother. Take a listen.
I was quietly sitting in the Grinnell Public Library, and at approximately 5:15, my youngest son, Scott, called me and said, Molly didn't go to work today. At that moment, adrenaline shot through my body, and I was like, something is terribly wrong. Law enforcement has been essential, crucial. I can't even find the words to say what has happened.
You just tell us, who is Molly? Tell us something about Molly.
She was vivacious. She loved life. She was passionate. She was not afraid.
How are you holding up?
You know, like I said, through some kind of internal strength that is just there. The other night, I walked outside to a starless sky and I saw a shooting star. And I was like, somehow, somewhere, she is remaining with me.
Guys, you know, your heart just go out to that mother. You can tell that she is just dedicated to one proposition, and that is bringing her child home, just being able to hug her child again. This is just so heartbreaking.
So, Ted, are they giving you any details as far as, like, we know that the boyfriend got a Snapchat from her at 10 p.m. the night before the mother said she went missing. If they found this red shirt and she has to wear a red shirt to the daycare where she was working and she didn't show up for work, are they thinking that maybe if something happened, if she was taken, it was that morning on her way to work?
Well, law enforcement is holding that close to their vest. Hopefully at the press conference we'll be able to get more of an idea. But I can tell you they are now, Ainsley, looking at suspects in this case, and that's a good sign that they may be close to the... I'm sorry, at the pig farm and in other places.
Yeah, the police have not been forthcoming in telling us who the suspects are. Ted, yesterday there was a press conference. We had it right here on the channel. Through Crime Stoppers of Central Iowa, they have announced a Find and Bring Molly Tibbetts Home Safely fund. But in listening to the family members, it's very clear. They believe she has been abducted, and they believe she is alive, and they believe somebody knows something that could get her released.
Yeah, absolutely. There is a $172,000 reward that was announced yesterday at a press conference. The family is holding out hope. They're very optimistic that someone knows and have Molly somewhere, and they're hoping that that person or persons will release Molly and collect this reward.
All right, Ted Williams,
crossed.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Ted.
If folks have any information there, you can see the tip line right there at the bottom of the screen. The phone number is 641-623-5679. That's 641-623-5679.
And the reward, $172,000.
And growing.
All right, 20 minutes after the hour. You got a federal judge slamming prosecutors yesterday for focusing on Paul Manafort's wealth and expensive fashion choices instead of any possible crime. Mark Levin calls their case a total abomination. I talked to him about it next.
Plus, what happens when a Democratic socialist goes to Hollywood? You're about to find out.
Here comes the rain.
We have some quick headlines for you. Democratic darling Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez hits the City of Angels, but the socialist star may be too far left for Hollywood liberals. According to The Hollywood Reporter, the New York congressional candidate won't be meeting with any entertainment big shot donors, at least for now. Instead, she showed up to an Occupy ICE lunch. Another Democrat wants to abolish ICE, but this one has an Obama endorsement. New Mexico congressional candidate Deborah Haaland says that ICE promotes terror and violence, and she is one of 81 candidates the former president formally endorsed this week. Brian?
All right, thanks, Ainsley. Hey, White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders facing blistering attacks from the media, but she was ready for it yesterday. I recently sat down with Mark Levin, host of Life, Liberty, and Levin, seen on Sundays, to get his reaction to the media versus the administration.
If the press were respectful but tough, if the press weren't obnoxious but aggressive, if the press were objective rather than partisan, then they'd be treated with respect. Their problem isn't Donald Trump. Their problem is the American people, over 60 million of us who voted for Donald Trump. They know what they're doing. We know what they're doing.
What is it about Trump that stalwart regular conservatives, whether they're friends of yours or not, some of them just can't swear on, but yet the numbers are high?
They are irrelevant. What we're doing in this country now is very troublesome to me. This attempt to sabotage this president, this coup that is taking place, and make no mistake, it is. The Democrats want the president out by hook or by crook. I see this nation like this right now. I see the statist progressives who are upset. They didn't control the next election. They thought they would get 4 more years of Obama through Hillary, and then they thought they would control the executive branch for the next 30 or 40 years and run the tables with their agenda, and they failed. And they've been resistant ever since. They've been obstructing ever since. And if you don't see that as a conservative, then you're blind. And if you don't see many of the good things this president's doing as a conservative, you're also blind.
Paul Manafort is having a trial. Everyone should understand, unrelated to anything to do with Donald Trump, he's got a trial. The way this started with the 78-year-old judge coming out saying, stop rolling your eyes. Don't use the term oligarch. It's not a crime to be rich. The tone he's setting, I'm wondering how nervous Mueller should be that his first high-profile case could blow up in his face.
If you think you have Manafort on tax evasion, on conspiracy for tax evasion, on bank fraud, on embezzlement, and all the rest of it, why do you have to talk about the rich? Why do you have to take pictures of his suits? The reason is this. He thinks his jury's stupid. And so what he wants to do is pile on. He wants them to be jealous. He wants them to go after guys in the top 1%. This is exactly what a prosecutor shouldn't do. This prosecutor, Mueller, and his band of merry liberal Democrats have been way over the top in the Manafort case. And here's the bottom line. The Manafort case has nothing to do with Trump, nothing to do with Trump world, nothing to do with the campaign, nothing to do with anything that a regular United States attorney couldn't handle, which is an abomination.
If you're part of Donald Trump's legal team, does Mark Levin say, sit down, keep negotiating, walk away?
Well, in my little dream world, if I were leading the Trump legal team and he gave me my mind to do what I wanted to do, I'd walk into Mr. Mueller and I would say, let me tell you something, buddy. You've been violating the Constitution for a year and a half. You know what the rules are at the Department of Justice and the 2 memos that they have. You can't indict a sitting president. We know you're trying to set up our president. You're trying to take down one branch of the federal government in violation of the Constitution. I'll see you in court.
Great close, except for I like to find out what's going to be on Life, Liberty, and Levin this Sunday.
We're going to have Rick Harrison of the show Pawn Stars. He's actually quite a brilliant gentleman. He's a very successful businessman. There's a lot that he's done in his life and isn't doing in his life that I think will be very, very compelling for a lot of our viewers.
He is Mark Levin. Don't miss him on Sundays and watch him on Fox and Friends. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you very much.
All right, he is indeed brilliant, and now he's going to be a Hall of Fame radio talk show host. He goes in this year. Meanwhile, still ahead, want to get off food stamps? President Trump has a message for you. Get a job. Plus, mothers are parenting in the age of fear. That according to a new op-ed, which claims it's criminal to leave your children alone, even for 1 second. Our panel of moms is here to discuss. Next.
I'm a migraine sufferer, and I'm...
Don't you ever leave me, don't you ever go. I've seen it on TV, I know how it goes. Even when you're angry, even when I'm cold. Don't you ever leave me, don't leave me alone.
Moms are parenting in the age of fear. That's according to a new op-ed that says, quote, we now live in a country where it is seen as abnormal or even criminal to allow children to be away from direct adult supervision, even for a second. The author is Kim Brooks, and she shares her own personal story of illegal fallout after leaving her 4-year-old child unattended in a car on a cool, cloudy day in March while she ran into a store for a quick errand. She was soon then after notified that there was a warrant out for her arrest. We're getting reaction from our panel of moms. Evangeline Gomez, who's in the back on the top left. She's an attorney specializing in family and matrimonial law. What do you think about this? I'll start with you.
I think it's extreme. These are, at some point as a parent, you have to rely on common sense. And if you can see your child and you're just stepping a few steps away, I mean, how many of us have gone to drop mail in a mailbox? And we park the car, get out, child's in there, and you run right back to your car. I mean, this isn't a situation where it was 90 degrees, she was leaving her child out for a long period of time. And so instead of someone reporting, calling the police, why didn't you just look after the child or ask the mother, hey, do you need my help? I can spot you while you go on in and you run your errand and I'll be here. And I think we need to have more communication that way instead of let's report this to the authorities.
Kathy Barnett on the middle front row, radio show host and a mother. Kathy, you bring your children to work. I know you're a great mother. Your kids are just so well-mannered and well-behaved. This is a fear of ours. You're feeling like everyone's watching, Big Brother's watching. This was a person who was watching this mother, recorded the license plate, called the cops, and then the cops, she's in Virginia visiting her parents. She lands in Chicago, and they say, we need to talk to you, a warrant out for your arrest.
Yeah, I know, right? And, and I posed this question to a group of my fellow homeschooling mamas yesterday, and there were no clear answers from them, because I think we all recognize that parenting can be exhausting sometimes. And sometimes you don't want to bundle all 5 kids up and rush over just to grab something out of the store real quickly. And yet at the same time, I think we can walk and chew gum at the same time on this issue, because as a society, we have a vested interest in making sure we have certain societal norms, right? That allows us to create an environment that allows us to thrive in raising our children. No one wants to see a bunch of 4-year-olds walking up and down the street unattended, right? And there's a reason why we don't allow 4-year-olds or older to enter into binding contract or to get married or to drink, because we recognize that they're not ready to deal with the consequences of their choices. And likewise, for a 4-year-old sitting in a car unattended, can we really trust that if a stranger danger approaches them, that they will have the wherewithal to know that they're being manipulated, to know that they shouldn't go? So I think it's a little bit of both, and we need to kind of take that into consideration.
Erica Komisar is sitting behind you. She's an author, and she wrote a book. We all have to pick this book up. Being There, Why Prioritizing Motherhood in the First 3 Years Matters. Erica, my child's 2.5. I read that title. I'm like, oh my gosh, I only have, a few more months. But Erica, seriously, when we were growing up, our parents did this. They went in the grocery store. Mom, please, we don't want to go in. We're going to sit here and read or do our homework or whatever. And we had 3 kids. Mom would say, okay, roll the windows down a little bit, lock the doors, don't open the door for strangers. And we were all fine. I know things have changed, but you wrote the book. What are the rules now? Because this mom said she was trying to avoid her child having what we all are very aware of, the meltdown.
So I think the problem is we don't really know the rules. So we don't want to shame mothers, because most people don't know that it's illegal to leave a child in a car unattended
and
at 4 years old.
And it's actually not in that state,
yeah,
in the state of Virginia.
So we need to know in each individual state what the rules are, so we don't blame mothers. But I'm also of 2 minds about it, because children do need adult supervision, and they don't just need adult supervision for environmental dangers, for a stranger coming up to the car, or the heat, which is sort of environmental. They need protection in other ways, meaning when you leave a child alone who's 4, they're frightened. So mothers are buffers to stress, as I talk about in my book. We also deal with things like impulse control or poor judgment. These are things that we help to regulate as mothers. So when we leave a child unattended, particularly a very young child, we're really not regulating those emotions that they have.
Darby, sitting next to you, she's child and adolescent family therapist. Darby, what do you think? What would you tell moms that come in and sit, on your sofa?
I would tend to agree with Erica. While we don't want to shame any mom, it's kind of irresponsible to leave a 4-year-old alone in a car. A 4-year-old doesn't have the cognitive ability to make a sound decision, and they're very much in the moment. So they could just get up and leave. They could do whatever. They're not really thinking about that. So we don't need to shame her. I wish the mom had said, you know what, I did kind of a dumb thing, because we all do that. I don't think we need to go as far as legality of how we treat people, but you do need supervision. And the way to build a resilient kid is to say, okay, I know you don't love to do errands, but we got to do it. I don't love doing them either. We'll be back. Let's go quickly.
Right.
You know, as opposed to
Can we bribe them? Can we say, well, I'll get you a prize?
Exactly.
We're probably not allowed to do that, right? All right,
Yeah.
Elizabeth, there are 2 I want to talk to you really quickly. Elizabeth Savetsky, she's founder of accessoriesexpert.com and a mother of 2. What was your opinion when you read this op-ed?
Well, thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome.
I think it's, especially as somebody who shares her life with such a big audience, I'm used to getting backlash and judgment. You feed your kids too much sugar, you're using the wrong car seat. And so I've realized that there is no winning when it comes to motherhood and other people's opinions. So it's about looking in the mirror and asking yourself, am I making a choice that I feel is safest for my child, and not thinking so much about what other people are going to think. And of course, there are societal norms that we have to subscribe to. I know my parents put me on an airplane by myself when I was 5 to go visit my babysitter from Texas to Indiana. And I don't think that I would ever put my 5-year-old child on a plane by herself, even though she would definitely be fine. And she's even asked me why she can't go visit her grandparents by herself. But it's just not done today. And so I think it's a question of maybe what has happened in the past 25, 30 years that has made us change and become so much more stringent with parenting.
Right. I want to get to you, Dr. Sanam Havis. She's a neuropsychologist. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
What are your thoughts about this? Where do we draw the line? Because you do want to follow the rules. Times have changed, but at the same time, you want to give your kids freedom and autonomy.
Yeah. So, I'm a single mom of twin boys who are 3-year-olds. So I can tell you, I know both sides of this. I think that, I think to some degree, parent shaming has sort of become a national pastime. So if you're not worried about your doctor or your teacher or your neighbor or your, schoolmates, parent judging you, you're worried about social media judging you. So I think parents are awfully aware of this constant, eye on them. But I think that, you should never really leave your child unattended in a public situation. But I also think that parents don't always know the rules. I think that's a big part of it. I think it's a two-pronged thing. I think parents should be made more aware of what the laws really are in their state, which means there should be education in schools, there should be education in, pediatricians' offices. Yep. There should be maybe postings everywhere. You don't really hear about what the laws are. I didn't know what the law was in Virginia.
What do you Google? Laws for kids in your state?
But there really should be something. But on the flip side, I think there should be more education on the law enforcement and the child protective side. Okay. Treating a good parent like a criminal, I think, is actually harmful and counterproductive.
That's what she said. She felt so embarrassed and ashamed.
Yeah, to actually caring for these children.
All right, ladies, we're going to have you back, another panel toward the end of the show. So thank you so much. Stick around. Happy Friday to all of you. Thank you for your perspectives. All right, we're going to hand it over to Jillian now. Hey, Jillian.
Ainsley, good morning to you at home. Do you want food stamps? Well, get a job. President Trump urging lawmakers to work together to put that rule in the new farm bill. The president tweeting, quote, when the House and Senate meet on the very important farm bill, we love our farmers. Hopefully, they will be able to leave the work requirements for food stamps provision that the House approved. Senate should go to 51 votes. The current farm bill ends next month. An illegal immigrant facing criminal gun charges thinks he should be protected by our Constitution. Police say Javier Perez from Mexico fired shots into the air in New York City to scare off rival gang members. His lawyer claims he has the right to bear arms because the Constitution doesn't specify that it only applies to citizens. Perez faces up to 10 years in prison and deportation if he's convicted. Police and Good Samaritans put their lives on the line to pull a man from a burning car. The vehicle bursting into flames off the side of a highway in Southern California. First responders pulling the unconscious driver out through the sunroof. No word on his condition. That video is incredible. Let's look at your headlines. Send it to you guys.
Hi, it's me, Jill.
That was a
Janice D. Hey, Janice.
How's it going? Yes.
Janice, that was so rude. We were about to toss you, but you jumped your toss. How dare you?
I'm just so excited to be outside for our summer concert series sponsored by Keurig for King and Country coming up. And you know what? We could have a little bit of rain in the forecast, but I'm doing my best to keep the rain out of the concert. Let's take a look at the maps real quick. It is humid. You're going to see my hair expand throughout the morning. 75 here in New York City. It feels a little warmer than that because we've got all of this moisture streaming in from the East Coast upwards. And I don't know why my maps are not working. They should stand by. You know what? I guess they're not working right now. But I will tell you, we are going to see the potential for rain up and down the East Coast and heat and dry conditions across the West. So the fire danger is going to be ongoing. All right, we have our summer concert series coming up. The lineup, by the way, is down 48th Street and down into 6th Avenue.
So popular.
Very exciting.
I know.
I have lots of friends that texted me, said they're coming to see it. That's awesome. All right, thank you,
family, friends. The Van Duren kids are here to see the big show. They're coming up.
The Van Duren kids. It sounds very regal.
It sounds much like a game show scandal.
They're the children of Todd the car guy.
Right.
Oh,
They have come
the guy that
not involved.
buy all your cars from.
What was that game show scandal again? Was it To Tell the Truth?
The quiz show?
Yeah, it was the Van Durens. 21. Okay.
Why don't you think about that while we take a break?
That's right. Welcome back to Random Random thoughts.
Random thoughts from Brian.
Right.
All right. Meanwhile, take a look at these images. Thousands marching in the streets of Chicago demanding an end to violence and Mayor Rahm Emanuel's resignation. Chicago native Gianno Caldwell was there for it. He joins us live next. Chicago protesters taking to the streets in a peaceful anti-violence march demanding Mayor Rahm Emanuel step down amid the city's escalating crime crisis. Chicago native and Fox News political analyst Gianno Caldwell was at the protest. He joins us live right now from the Second City. Gianno, good morning to you.
Good morning, Steve. There was a lot of pain that I saw on the ground here in Chicago, but there was one particular surprising moment from an Illinois politician. Please take a look.
All right.
Well, we put this march together because in Chicago there's too much bloodshed in the African-American community.
Do you think Mayor Rahm Emanuel has failed Chicago?
Well, Rahm Emanuel, first of all, is a con man. His whole job is to keep black folks divided.
No, he doesn't care about anybody but the people in his neighborhood and his family.
City's in financial calamity. The organization in the city of Chicago is just complete disarray. No matter which angle you want to audit or look at, Chicago is a complete mess.
So you say that he cares more about the illegal immigrants that are in the city than the African Americans?
I said exactly that. He cares more about non-citizens, African Americans. We're citizens, and our ancestors built this country.
He got some good things, but I think he don't step up and come to the people where the crime is. You know what I'm saying? The crime is on the south side and the west side.
We have to make sure that President Trump recognized that not everyone believes that Chicago is a Trump-free zone. If he's serious about helping the people in Chicago, especially on the west side of Chicago, I accept his help. We can't turn any help away. We have to make sure that people understand that criminals cannot have their way with our streets. We have to protect our youth, we have to protect our seniors, and people have to have safe places to walk. And so, you know, one murder is too many. And so if Chicago Police Department and all the other law enforcement can't do it, we should seek other help.
Gianno, it sounds like Chicagoans want President Trump to do what Rahm Emanuel is not doing.
Yeah, and that last person you just saw is Illinois State Representative LaShawn Ford. He's a very senior Democrat in the Illinois legislature, and he also is the representative over a very hit area in terms of the violence on the west side of Chicago. He told me that he would love for President Trump to come in. He thinks that the National Guard should be a part of the solution as well as the state police. He believes that there's some economic benefit to having the president there to talk about programs and other things. And I think for me, that was the story out of yesterday, that there is a senior Democrat within Illinois who says that Chicago isn't a Trump-free zone. He wants to speak with the president about his people.
Well, let's see if the president picks up the phone. All right, Gianno, thank you very much for going out in the streets and sharing that story. That's terrific. Let us know what you think. We did, by the way, reach out to Mayor Emanuel for a statement. He has not called us back. All right. Meanwhile, 10 minutes before the top of the hour, can Trumpism beat socialism? In a new op-ed, F.H. Buckley says yes. He joins us next hour. Plus, Democrats testing a new method to win over voters for the midterms, text messages. Is that going to bother you, or are you going to read it? We're going to talk with Kurt, the cyber guy, coming up next. Chicago protesters taking to the streets in a peaceful anti-violence march demanding Mayor Rahm Emanuel step down amid the city's escalating crime crisis. Chicago native and Fox News political analyst Gianno Caldwell was at the protest. He joins us live right now from the Second City. Gianno, good morning to you.
Good morning, Steve. There was a lot of pain that I saw on the ground here in Chicago, but there was one particular surprising moment from an Illinois politician. Please take a look.
All right.
Well, we put this march together because in Chicago there's too much bloodshed in the African-American community.
Do you think Mayor Rahm Emanuel has failed Chicago?
Well, Rahm Emanuel, first of all, is a con man. His whole job is to keep black folks divided.
No, he doesn't care about anybody but the people in his neighborhood and his family.
City's in financial calamity. You know, the organization in the city of Chicago is just a complete disarray. No matter which angle you want to audit or look at, Chicago is a complete mess.
So you say that he cares more about the illegal immigrants that are in the city than the African Americans?
I said exactly that. He cares more about non-citizens, African Americans. We're citizens, and our ancestors built this country. He got some good things, but I think he don't step up and come to the people where the crime is. You know what I'm saying? The crime is on the south side and the west side.
We have to make sure that President Trump recognized that not everyone believes that Chicago is a Trump-free zone. If he's serious about helping the people in Chicago, especially on the west side of Chicago, I accept his help. We can't turn any help away. We have to make sure that people understand that criminals cannot have their way with our streets. We have to protect our youth, we have to protect our seniors, and people have to have safe places to walk. And so, you know, one murder is too many. And so if Chicago Police Department and all the other law enforcements can't do it, we should seek other help.
Giano, it sounds like Chicagoans want President Trump to do what Rahm Emanuel is not doing.
Yeah, and that last person you just saw is Illinois State Representative LaShawn Ford. He's a very senior Democrat in the Illinois legislature, and he also is the representative over a very hit area in terms of the violence on the west side of Chicago. He told me that he would love for President Trump to come in. He thinks that the National Guard should be a part of the solution, as well as the state police. He believes that there's some economic benefit to having the president there to talk about programs and other things. And I think for me, that was the story out of yesterday, that there is a senior Democrat within Illinois who says that Chicago isn't a Trump-free zone. He wants to speak with the president about his people.
Well, let's see if the president picks up the phone. All right, Giano, thank you very much for going out in the streets and sharing that story. That's terrific. Let us know what you think. We did, by the way, reach out to Mayor Emanuel for a statement. He has not called us back. All right. Meanwhile, 10 minutes before the top of the hour, can Trumpism beat socialism? In a new op-ed, F.H. Buckley says yes. He joins us next hour. Plus, Democrats testing a new method to win over voters for the midterms: text messages. Is that going to bother you, or are you going to read it? We're going to talk with Kurt, the cyber guy, coming up next.